Imagine a battlefield so vast that it stretched across 15 miles of land, where the ground itself was churned into a sea of mud and blood. Imagine a battle so deadly that it claimed over 1 million lives in just 141 days. This is the story of the Battle of the Somme, one of the deadliest and most haunting chapters in human history. Today, we're diving into an event that changed the course of history, a battle that epitomized the horrors of World War I and redefined warfare forever. But this isn't just about numbers or dates. This is about the human stories behind them. It's about bravery, tragedy, and the lessons we still need to learn. The year was 1916. The First World War had already been raging for 2 years, with no end in sight. The Western Front was locked in a brutal stalemate, trenches stretched from the North Sea to Switzerland, and millions of soldiers were trapped in a nightmarish game of survival. Both sides were desperate for a breakthrough. And so, on July 1, 1916, the British and French launched a massive offensive against German forces near the River Somme in northern France. The plan was ambitious. An 8-day artillery bombardment would destroy German defenses, allowing Allied troops to advance unopposed. But there was one fatal flaw: the Germans were ready. They had spent months fortifying their positions with deep bunkers and machine gun nests. When the bombardment stopped and Allied soldiers began their advance, they walked straight into a storm of bullets. July 1, 1916, the first day of the Battle of the Somme, remains the single bloodiest day in British military history. In just 24 hours, the British suffered nearly 60,000 casualties, including over 19,000 dead. To put that into perspective, that's more than twice the population of a small town wiped out in a single day. But why? Why did so many die so quickly? The answer lies in a combination of outdated tactics and modern weaponry. Generals on both sides were still using strategies from the 19th century, mass infantry charges across open ground, against 20th century technology like machine guns, heavy artillery, and barbed wire. The result was catastrophic. Over the next 4 months, the Battle of the Somme became a grinding war of attrition. The Allies gained just a few miles of territory at an unimaginable cost: over 600,000 Allied casualties and around 500,000 German casualties. The battlefield became a living hell. Soldiers lived in trenches filled with mud, rats, and disease. They endured constant shelling, gas attacks, and the ever-present threat of death. One soldier described it as the nearest thing to hell on earth. Another wrote home saying, "If I ever get out of this alive, I'll never take life for granted again." These were ordinary men placed in extraordinary circumstances: farmers, factory workers, students, who were forced to endure unimaginable suffering. And yet, amidst the horror, there were moments of humanity. Soldiers on both sides shared fleeting moments of compassion, like during brief ceasefires to collect their dead. Letters sent home reveal stories of camaraderie and resilience. These men fought not out of hatred for their enemy but out of duty to their comrades. The Battle of the Somme also marked significant technological changes in warfare. It was here that tanks were used for the first time in combat, though their impact was limited due to mechanical failures. The battle also saw innovations in air warfare, with both sides using planes for reconnaissance and bombing. By November 18, 1916, when the battle finally ended, it was clear that neither side had achieved their goals. The Allies had gained just 6 miles of territory, at a cost so staggering that it's almost impossible to comprehend. Over 1 million men were killed or wounded during those 4 months. And for what? A few miles of mud? The Battle of the Somme wasn't just a military disaster. It was a human tragedy on an unprecedented scale. It serves as a grim reminder of the horrors of war and the price we pay when diplomacy fails. The Battle of the Somme left scars that have never fully healed. For Britain, it was a national trauma. Nearly every community lost sons, fathers, and brothers. The sheer scale of death and destruction changed public perception of war forever. No longer was it seen as a noble adventure, it was now understood as a brutal and senseless slaughter. Today, sites like Thiepval Memorial and Beaumont Hamel preserve the memory of those who fought and died here. The battle's legacy is not just one of loss but also one of remembrance, a solemn reminder of what happens when humanity loses its way. So what can we learn from this? The Battle of the Somme teaches us about the dangers of underestimating our enemy, the importance of adapting to change, and above all, the value of human life. It's a story we must never forget because history has a habit of repeating itself if we let it.